There we go.
There she is. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good, thanks. Where are you? Are you in your little
I'm just at home.
in your little thrift shop?
No, I'm just in my apartment right now.
Oh, your apartment just looks like a thrift shop.
Yeah, pretty much. Just a whole lot of books up there.
Yeah, and some cool clothes too, which I would expect from you.
Good, thank you. Yeah, all my jackets.
You have an album coming. That's
Yeah, it's pretty soon now.
tomorrow. It will be out in the world.
Yes.
How do you feel like after all this time that the world is going to have an Ellevator album that they can hold in their hands?
It feels a little surreal, if I'm being honest. It's been a long time coming. It feels like a long time. The last couple of years have felt pretty extended with this whole pandemic thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like so much has changed in my personal life that I almost feel like a different person after making the album with all this time in between. But I'm equally as excited, if not maybe more. I think it'll feel really relieving to have it all be out there because it's been something I've been holding for a
Yeah.
long time. Yeah.
Yeah, because your first single came out 2016, right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
So our EP came out in 2018, I want to say.
so that was almost like a stopgap towards the album, but still, it feels like it's long overdue to have a full album from you guys.
Yeah, we feel that way too. It was a tricky sort of situation with the pandemic too because we were almost wrapped up when the pandemic wrapped up with recording when the pandemic began. So it was really just making the call of like when would be the right time to release it, and we really gave it our all this time around.
Yeah, well, it
And
shows.
so I'm glad, thank you. So we
Oh,
just really wanted to make sure we were doing it justice, waiting for the right time. And that at this point in our careers pretty much means being able to tour it. So without being able to play shows, it just wouldn't have felt right releasing the whole album. So I'm really glad that we're able to release it, that we're going to be able to start playing music, playing it live.
do you think if you had released it, like if the pandemic had never happened and you'd released it maybe a couple of years ago, do you think it would be the same album that it is now?
No, no. And I don't know whether it's better or worse than it would have been. I have no idea how to gauge that, but I do think that it has changed the context of the album too. Like there's, writing all even the themes through the album in all the lyrics. There's a lot of stuff that made sense pre-pandemic that felt personal, but I think it's gathered more meaning
I've
with
heard that.
everything that we've all been through in the last couple of years. There's a lot of there's a I feel like there's a lot I could get into with that, like what all those different themes are, but it means more to me after the pandemic. I feel like there are songs I didn't realize we were writing uh, that would feel so applicable to what we've been through in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of artists actually, that
Okay.
some of their old songs that they've been singing for years or even decades suddenly take on this new meaning. And when they go out and perform it live, they're singing it from a different point of view completely.
Totally. But
So
it's pretty cool. I love that music can be that fluid and that, even if you're the architect behind it, that it can still kind of surprise you with meaning. That's
yeah,
one of my favorite parts of writing the lyrics is like I often feel like I know the general direction of where something's going or like the emotion that it's being spurred on by, but often it will be after playing it live a couple times or after hearing from other people what it's meant to them that
right.
it'll really make sense to me.
Okay.
So the pandemic has like brought a lot of clarity on it.
Yeah, well, we have to find the positives in it, right?
Mhm.
So what song on the album was the first one to actually be born?
I think that Easy might be one of the oldest songs on the album. It might be a toss up between Easy and The Prism, but that said, they have both changed drastically, even in arrangement and everything, the way that they sound. We have so many demos of us playing these songs in different ways over the last, 5 years.
Yeah.
Some of them we even tried live a couple times. And So they're old, but I don't know if that counts so much because they feel like different songs now. It was just sort
Right.
of like holding the parts that really meant a lot to us and putting them in a new basket and trying out new baskets. And we actually, like, we almost gave up on the Prism after trying arranging it multiple times. We were actually all the way in pre-production with Chris Walla before we started recording, and we were ready to toss it. It just hadn't been clicking. It hadn't been clicking. And it had been so many like years at this point of trying to make it click. And then something changed, and it did click. So glad we didn't give up. But
Do you remember what it was that made it click?
I do, and it's really silly actually, but
Eh?
it worked. We actually did a little talk house piece on this recently, talking with Chris about last minute inspiration in the studio and in recording settings. And it was Elliot, our bassist,
Yeah.
came up with a character on the fly. And this was just, us in our basement not recording studio, our basement rehearsal room. It's nothing glamorous. It's concrete. And the nice thing is you don't need to worry so much about making sound, but it's also not like a super pleasant environment.
Right.
We had been down there for all day. It was a lovely day outside, which just like makes it sting a little more when you're in a basement, slogging through trying to write a song that just isn't clicking. And we were getting ready to give up. We went out, we had a dinner break, we came back, and Elliot was like, I don't think we should give up. I think there's more to it. And he adapted this character. He put on his sunglasses and he lowered his bass. And then he became this guy named Cliff. And Cliff was just like all attitude and muscle. And we all started singing a song for Cliff, and Cliff was playing this bass line, and then the song changed. So
Wow. So it didn't click, it cliffed.
It clipped, exactly.
There you go. Well, I'm glad it came together in the end, because it feels like an important part of the album, but there's so many important parts of this album, and like the way it flows is just amazing. There's like the highs and the lows, there's the darks and the lighter shades for sure as well. Now, the title came from the song Mother, right?
Yes.
So talk to me about that song, because that's an epic song that just builds and builds, and I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that song too.
So,
Mother, I think the title sort of has become its own thing. It was taken from that song, but I think it has a lot more meaning to it that really ties into all the songs. But it almost means something more particular, that line in Mother, for that song.
okay.
Mother is about grief. Not my mother. My mother's alive and well, which I'm blessed to say. But it was sort of inspired by, I hate to use the word inspired. It sounds so dark to take that from other people's experiences, but friends of mine who have lost their parents or their loved ones, I've been pretty untouched by death in my personal life. But my grandma did pass away a few years ago now, and we were close, and my mother was really close with her mother. So the song is sort of written from her perspective, with little tastes of how I feel about my own mom, and that tenderness and that importance and that sort of like visceral feeling of coming from your mother and being attached so physically. So that song has a lot to do with grief and losing people. It's a little bit of my grandma in there, and then basically digging into the afterlife and thinking about people's presence that they maybe leave behind when they pass away. And I often think about my grandma. Sounds so cheesy, but I know a lot of people feel that way too about people they've lost. But I think about her being with me, or being able to see me and see what I'm doing, and it inspires me to be good every day. So it's like in a way, it's almost a different sense of God, is just like thinking of these people that you respect and admire and what you want to be for them and through their perception.
Have you played the song for your mom?
I have, yeah.
How was that, playing it for the first time to her?
She loves it. Yeah, she liked it a lot. I think that yeah, it's been a few years. She's had a pretty healthy grieving process with my grandma, and is at the point where we can talk about that. And it's not too painful. It can be more reminiscing and yeah, just like loving the moments of my grandma.
Yeah.
And we talk about how she sees my grandma in her life, and whether that's, you know, a bird that she sees perched outside that she imagines or feels my grandma's presence in that moment. But I think what resonated with my mom a lot too is that the first line of that is "soft mother's sweatshirt," which isn't a very romantic poem. But I have a sweatshirt from my mom from when she was a teenager. It's an old Roots sweatshirt. It's got all these holes in it. It's super thin, and I don't wear it that often, but I do wear it if I am needing some comfort. And I try not to wash it so that it can just like stay intact. But that was my mom's, and that means a lot to her that I wrote about something kind of small like that. But it's these little things that you inherit that I feel like wind up imbuing a lot of meaning.
I'm sure you know a song called Mother Stands for Comfort.
I don't actually.
It's Kate Bush song.
Oh, it is. Oh my goodness. I'm writing it down.
Write it down.
I got my clipboard.
because there's not many bands that could cover Kate Bush and really do it justice, but you guys nailed that one.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I actually saw you in 2019.
Okay.
When you were in Montreal, and I think it was just after you released that cover, if I'm right.
Oh yes, I'm remembering speaking with you now. It's all coming back.
Do you really? Okay.
Yes, yeah. It was in that it was like down a few steps, the venue. And I remember being in the merch area and talking with you. Yeah.
Okay. There you go. I'm not sure if I believe you, but I'll take it.
Oh no, I do. I mean it. I don't have a great memory, so if something comes back, it's usually true.
There you go. So yeah, it was me discovering that song and then kind of digging deeper into what you were doing at that time that made me go to that show, and I've been a fan ever since. And now I have this album, which is just a perfect accumulation of everything I wanted from you guys. So I feel excited about it as well. So you mentioned about working with Chris, who used to be in Death Cab for Cutie, another band that I love.
Yes.
How did that all come about? Because he's a great producer. He produced another band that I love, Low Moon. Do you know them?
Yes. Oh, they're fabulous. Yeah. I love everything he's worked on with them as well. I still can't really believe that we got to work with Chris. It's kind of wild that it came together. Basically just through connections with our management and our label. Our manager asked us to put together a list of dream producers for this album, and our whole plan with the album before we even began was like, let's go all out. Let's put like all our money into it and all of our time and all of our best effort, and let's get the people we really dream of working with on it. And that was the intention. And it happened, and I can't believe it, but Chris was literally the top name on our list, and we didn't ever get past him. We reached out to him through some people on our team, and he listened to the music, our demos, and he liked what he heard, I'm guessing. And we met with him over Zoom, and then shortly after, he was living in Montreal at the time. Yeah, and he was in the process of moving to Norway. So in between all that chaos of his life with moving and such, he came down to Hamilton, and we did some pre-production. He came a few times, and then we started actually recording after demoing, and it just felt very natural and felt really quick, the actual building of a relationship with him. I remember being a little nervous before we met him, and that went away pretty immediately.
And I know you got to, was that your cat?
Yes. She's just staring at me, needing some attention, I think. This is my kitty.
There you go. And I know you got to do some work at the Bathouse, which is the Hips place. How was that, with all that history in that place? Oh,
it was awesome. Yeah, it was really special, actually, to have that experience there. Again, kind of unreal that we were able to swing that. First of all, really cool that it's a house. So we hadn't had the experience before of living in a place that we were recording. For the most part, our recording in the past has been trying to cram it all into a weekend, after our day jobs, and just feeling super like making the most of every moment. Like, and not that we didn't do that with this album, but there was a lot more free time and a lot more freedom to experiment, which I think was super beneficial for having a nice time and for creating something beyond what we went in there prepared to make. It became something else. But the bathhouse was super conducive for that because we were living there. So we kind of went in and out of recording. Someone would hone in on one part, and then there was a pool, and I'd go for a swim or a little walk, or we took turns cooking for each other, Chris included. He's a very good cook. Excellent pasta sauce.
Okay.
And dal as well. Very good. Yeah, but the space itself is super special. You can feel that it was somebody's home, that it is somebody's home, and that there's memories in there beyond even the legacy of that band, which is powerful too. There's all the instruments that they've used are hanging on the walls, and you can actually play some of them. They're not in glass, display cases or anything. It didn't feel like the space was being made precious, and that it didn't feel breakable. It felt accessible, and like you were able to be a part of it, which was really special, to not feel like you were working in a museum. And then even, one of my most profound experiences there was having kind of a hard day, and went on a little exploration to their garage. It's like a little barn that's attached to the house, and went up a ladder into the back room. And there's this big, just what you'd sort of imagine of the upstairs of a barn. It's like very thin wood. You can like see through the walls a little bit. And there's a big couch up there, and a coffee table with an ashtray with a whole bunch of cigarette butts, because I think Matt Good was in there just before us. And then there's a microphone that was still set up that had a piece of paper with a set list, and then it also just said like this is where Gord stood, for their rehearsals and their writing sessions. And I started going up there every day and warming up my voice, and sometimes just like lying on the floor and trying to get in the moment. So it was a powerful place to be, and for sure that makes a difference.
Just the way you're talking about it, it sounds powerful, and it sounds almost like romantic, and almost like you're in a movie or something like that.
Yeah, it felt like that.
Going back to the album, I mentioned already the way it flows. How important is it the way you put the songs together in the order that they are?
I think important. We spent a good deal of time on that. And that was my first time really, really doing that.
Yeah.
We've never made an album this long before. And I really like where we wound up, but it was through a lot of negotiations with each other. Like the initial process was everyone took their own time and sent through what they thought the order should be. And then we saw if there were similarities or if there were drastic differences, and we discussed why. And Chris had his own version. And it was a few months process of us really trying to refine that. And then again, much like how some songs don't feel like they're working and then they click, it clicked. And we all thankfully were able to agree that we came across it was the right one. And there was a time there where I was listening through the album myself, like at least once a day. And for a while in the pandemic, I was doing that even just to keep excited and to keep remembering what we had made, to stay attached to it.
Because I've spoken to people before, and they've said that the way they listen to the album during the process of making it, and even when it's done, is different. As soon as it's released, they listen to it with a different kind of headspace. Do you think you will find that? Is that something you expect?
You mean like once it's released?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe, probably. Yeah. again, it feels like I've been sitting with it for a while. I haven't been listening to it daily anymore. It's been a few months since the daily listens because I was hitting the point where like I was probably going to overdo it and not be excited, and I was just going to get really tired of the songs.
Right.
So now it's more just a little reminder of like, these are good. Remember,
Yeah.
you made a work of art. Hopefully people appreciate it, rather than a like, just still being super fresh about it.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably change, and I think that has something to do with, just talking about the meaning of songs and how that changes when you've shared it with other people. And I'm very open to that. I think that's one of the beautiful things about art in general, is that it changes in the eye of the beholder. So being able to discuss that with people, or even once we've played more shows with these songs, hearing what they mean to people or seeing what people respond to, which songs, I imagine that will change which songs mean the most to me. Though I have my favorites now, but when they're other people's favorites, maybe that will sway me.
Yeah, I think that's what happens is once it's out in the world, there's two things that happen. You begin to listen to it as if you're a listener listening to it for the first time rather than the artist. But you also realize that it doesn't matter because you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, true. You have to like kind of just let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're Kanye, and then you keep uploading different versions.
Right. Oh no. We'll put a new one up.
Yeah. So you mentioned about playing them live. You've had a chance to play live a little bit recently, and you've got plenty more dates coming up. How does it feel playing these songs live now?
It feels great. Yeah. There's a few we haven't played live yet because we didn't want to start playing the full album until we had it all released.
Yeah.
But each song we've been adding in has it's felt like a bit of a relief, because not that it's weighty, holding an album relatively privately, but it does feel kind of strange to have made something that feels like the greatest thing I've done, and to not be sharing it yet. It makes me feel pretty conceited, if I'm being honest. It makes you feel a little like you're blowing things out of proportion, because you need to keep yourself excited
Yeah.
and be like, it's worthwhile. You got to get it out there. People got to hear this. But then also when time keeps passing by, it's hard to do that without feeling like you're just inflating your own ego. So every song that we've released has been really relieving, and and playing them live has been super fulfilling.
Great. And you're going to be in Montreal on the 19th. You're going to be playing at Bar Le Rick.
Yes.
Which I've been to a couple of times recently, actually. It's a great little venue, nice and intimate, bigger than where you were before.
Okay.
And then what's after that? You've got a few dates coming up, and then what's your summer looking like?
Summer, so we're still fielding some offers for festivals, and sort of like one-off show dates. I don't know if any of them I'm like quite able to promote yet. But we've got some stuff happening in the summer. At this point, we don't have any more like big tours planned for the summer, but there's still the possibility that could happen.
Okay. And if you could pick one artist or one band to go on tour with as like their opener, who would you choose?
Ooh, like a realistically, or
No, not
just,
realistically.
oh, okay.
Preferably alive.
And I would be opening for them, or they would be opening for me, because then I'd pick differently.
Okay, let's go both.
Both? Okay, because I feel like, yeah, if I picked someone to open for me, I would really want to make sure that they weren't like, like I wouldn't choose Peter Gabriel, because that would be awful of me.
Yeah.
I would really love to open for probably Big Thief.
Nice. Yeah, they were just here.
I don't know if our music is like the most obvious mashup, but I personally love going to shows where you're not sticking within the same genre as a listener.
Yeah.
And I just love their music so much. it means so much to me. So I would love to open for them. I also feel like they would just be so great to spend time with. I'd like to be friends.
That's a good reason.
Yeah. And that's the majority of tour is just hanging out in vans and
Yeah.
eating fast food. So that would be nice. To open for us. I feel like that's so tricky because that feels like a power play. Um, I will say that I'm very excited for some of the folks who are going to be opening for us on this next run of dates. So there's Deanna Petkoff,
Okay.
who's incredible, a Toronto artist. So that's actually happening, and I think that's going to be a really, really good, good mashup of music. And again, nice to hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apart from Big Thief, what else have you been listening to recently?
I always feel like I'm a little boring when it comes to my answers because I get really stuck on certain artists and I pretty much just listen to the same music every day until something else has been introduced to me that I'm like in love with. I don't listen to a lot of music casually. So I just get obsessed with one act. So yeah, a lot of Big Thief. Also Buck Meek, who is in Big Thief, been listening to all of his solo stuff, and I love that too. Um, I've been getting into Ways Blood recently. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Do you know?
Do you know what? I spoke to the girl who produced their album.
Okay.
I think it's Wise Blood.
Wise Blood. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not super familiar with the music yet because I haven't dug as deep as I intend to dig. But that's been kind of blowing my mind and like super sort of like spirity, ghosty vibes, but also like really beautiful and really peaceful somehow, even though it's dramatic. I love dramatic music. And I feel like Big Thief is another sort of version of that. They're like, I don't know, folk rock drama.
Folk rock drama. I'm sure they take that. Well, I really enjoyed chatting with you. And as I've already mentioned, I love the album. And I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you. I genuinely love it. So I'm excited for everybody else to hear it. And I'm excited to hear it live as well.
Yes,
so,
thank you. Will you be able to make it to that Montreal show?
Yeah, on the 19th at the Ritz.
So, okay, awesome.
Yeah, I'll come and say hi again.
Yes, please.
If you remember me next time.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks very much for your time and good luck with everything. Enjoy your last week of having no album out.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Nice chatting with you.